Hello, in this video I'd like to show you something that will make working with Moai and NURBS here much easier, smoother, and less painful. So let me just start with the circle right here and just use the grid just to create this right here. And then let's just extrude, and we've got this result right here. And I can just press delete to delete this initial curve right here. And then let's say I'll go into the front viewport here, and I can just use line, polyline right here. And for example, let me just select this, and I've got my hotkey Alt-X to set up transparency here. And so, first of all, one thing you can do here is, what I used to do was I used to start in the middle right here and pretty much get this right here. And then what I would do is select this and then transform, activate object, snap, mirror, and mirror around here. And then I would select this and join. So right away, one of the issues right here is that if I now extrude this, you notice how we get this line in the middle right here. Now in many cases it's not a big deal, but it can make things more complex than they need to be here. So what I like to do nowadays is just to separate this. So for example, I'll just Control Z and I will just delete this here. So now what I would do is just start right here instead. And do this, and then mirror. And then I would just create another line right through here, and then just join them together. And so now if I extrude, you notice how we get this much cleaner result right here. Alright, so I'll just press Alt-X to get rid of the transparency here. And so now what I would do is fillet this. And I just want to fillet these four right here, so I just press done. I want to do them all at the same time, and we'll just use a larger fillet of 1 right here. So done. All right, and there we go. And then I will select both these objects and hold Control and move it to the right here. All right, and there we go. So then I can select this here and Boolean difference and Boolean this right here. All right, I can delete this right away. And let's say, for example, I want to select this, and I can select, let's say, these polygons, or I can do so by the edges right here. And I can, let's say, chamfer this right here. So I've got this kind of interesting effect here, chamfer this, and then I can select this, and this time I can do so by the polygons right here, and right click, because my previous operation was chamfer, and there we go. So looking good so far. I got this interesting kind of result right here. But then what I want to do is, of course, fillet this, make it look nice and fillet here. And of course, I want to decrease this. Let's try 0.2, and notice how it fails. Now we can still fillet the bottom here, no problem. And we might be able to fillet this as well. All right, this fillet's fine. But if I try and fillet this right here, let's say I'll use the face method right here. Notice how it doesn't really work. Calculation failed. I can try 0.1, I can try 0.05, I can try 0.01, and it doesn't really work right here. So this is a constant source of frustration for people working with NURBS here, and they just can't get the fillet to work here, and they don't know what the problem is. They're doing everything right. Well, I'm going to show you a very easy, simple trick to get this situation, to avoid this kind of situation right here. But before I show you, I want to explain some basic principles here. So if I create a line right here, I'll just create a basic line right here. Left click, single line right here. Then I'm going to use a polyline right here. And I'm going to left click, and then left click again, and then left click, and then right click to finish. And then let's just do that again, but left click more. All right, and then right click to finish, and I can use freeform and left click to get a bunch of this kind of detail right here. So then I will select all 4 of these curves here, and we're going to extrude and see what we get here. So you'll notice in the first example here, it's just a very clean plane, no edges in the middle right here. So that's what we want ideally. Second one has an edge in the middle right here because I left click again to get this right here. Third one has a lot more edges because I left click multiple times. And this one has no edges in the middle here, just this nice face right here with no edges here. So if I select this here and activate show points, notice there's a lot of vertices here, a lot of points. But those points don't translate into lines because they're smooth points here. They're not corner points. So if I reuse freeform right here, And I can click on Make Corner Point. Or I can also simply hold Control to do the same. Alright, if I now select this and extrude, everywhere that we have a corner point, we get an edge there. And if we don't have a corner point, we get this smooth surface here. So that is one thing to understand right here. So if I create a line here, alright, this kind of line right here. If I now fillet this, alright, we are now going to get two edges right here. If I undo and I go into show points, even though this fillet looks nice and smooth, if I actually activate show points and move either this one right here or the one in the middle here, you notice how it's not actually a smooth continuation here. We have this hard angle right here, and that can cause a lot of problems for us. So the simple solution is to use the rebuild command. Now, Moai has a number of commands which are not available as buttons, so you have to actually set them as hotkeys, but it's very easy here. Let's just go into options. And so right now I've got this tilde key set to import OBJ. I don't really use that often. This is good if you want to import an OBJ and you don't want to subdivide it, but most of the time you want to subdivide it, and I can just use this right here to import an OBJ and subdivide it here. So let me just replace this right here. Instead of import OBJ, I can just use rebuild. And we'll just enter and rebuild right here and then close. So that's the tilde key. So in this first example here, notice how things don't really work out here. I can't really fillet these objects here. However, for this one here, I'm going to press the tilde key, or you can press tab and then type in rebuild, but that can take a while, so you can just set it to a hotkey for a much better result here. So we have mode refit. We can switch to a different mode, for example, number of points or endpoints. If we use number of points here, you notice how 5 is too little here. We can try, let's say, 10 or 15. All right, getting a little bit of wobbliness here. Let's try maybe 30. All right, there we go. That captures it accurately here. All right, and then done. And the original curve is deleted and replaced with this one right here. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to select this here and Boolean difference right here and delete this here. All right, so I'm going to reuse the same thing, but notice how this time we don't get those kinds of edges here. We just get this nice smooth surface here. So as opposed to this object right here, because we use the fillet here, we got all these edges here. Now in many situations it's not a huge issue. A lot of designers probably don't even think about this a lot because they don't need to do anything too crazy here. But if you want to get more detailed with your designs here, these edges will eventually cause issues here, as they're causing issues for us right now because I just can't fillet this here, even with a reasonable value like 0.2 or 0.1, for example. However, if I then chamfer this and then select this right here, let's fillet, and as you can see, 0.2, no problem. Even probably 0.5 will work just fine. So in this situation here, now after the rebuild command, we have no problems here. And not only that, but it makes it easier to select the edges as well. So for example, here I have to select all of them like this, and my Shift-T command doesn't really work here. But with this right here, all I have to do is just select this right here, and it selects the entire loop here. So I can fill this with no problem, and we can do the same for this right here. Chamfer, and then fillet. Alright, so there we go. That is a very quick, easy solution here. And this will really alleviate a lot of the frustration. This is a common source of frustration for people working with NURBS here and Moai 3D here, is trouble with the fillets right here. But as you can see, we get the same result here, but now we get these nice smooth fillets here. And it also alleviates and removes this kind of issue right here as well. Notice we get this kind of faceting effect right here, but it looks a lot nicer here. So for example, if I were to create a circle here, I would have to be careful, because if I create the circle right here, for example, and then I will also want to copy this right here. So if I then Boolean difference, I get this nice hole through here, but if I select this here and fillet here, I have to be careful. Now, 0.2 works here. A lot of times here, for example, if I do this right here, we'll be limited because once you get to the edge here, it can cause some issues here. But in this case, notice we can get to 0.2. It's not causing too many problems here. Let's try 0.3. All right, let's try 0.4. All right, 0.4 fails here. We can try 0.8, and that's not working here, 0.7. All right, so a lot of the numbers here don't really work for us. Now let's do the same for this right here, Boolean. All right, it's about in the same position right here, the hole. Once again, it's easier to select because I can just select this single curve right here, closed edge, and then fillet here. And now 0.6 works. 0.7 works here. Of course, if it gets too large, it will start to interact with this right here. So notice how now pretty much all the numbers work for us here. So there we go. So it makes working with Moai, makes working with NURBS a lot easier, just a simple rebuild command. And real quick, I'll also show you a manual way of getting rid of that as well. So for example, if I create a polyline right here, all right, then I can select this and fillet here. So let's give this fillet of 1. All right. So if I extrude, I will get these edges here. So now I'll go into show points here. And now I can use add point to add one right here. Right click to bring up add point again. Add one on the left as well here. And then one right here, one right here. All right. And so now I can delete the original ones in the middle right here. And it does change the fillet a little bit here. But since we've gotten rid of those corner ones right here, if I now extrude, notice how we no longer have those edges here. So this method might not be as fast, but I just wanted to show you just in case. So using rebuild and this trick right here, we can get rid of these edges here and we can have a lot more freedom and get rid of a lot of frustration that comes working with NURBS and Moai 3D here. Thank you for watching and take care.